E-readers come in all shapes and sizes, and they come in all prices as well. You might be interested to know that there technically isn't a $1,000 e-reader on the market, despite the title of this video, but you can do e-reading on $1,000 devices. Currently, the most expensive e-reader on the market is the Pocketbook InkPad X. It's a 10.3-inch device, and it is $410 US. These two represent the $100 and the $1,000 price point as close as we could possibly get it. Despite the fact that you might find the Kindle for $80 some places, and you might find the DPT $850 in some places, if you average everything out, this is around $110, and this is around the $1,000 price point when it comes to Australian dollars, Singapore dollars, Canadian dollars, New Zealand, etc. These are the average prices. In fact, the DPT currently is one of the most expensive e-ink devices on the market, outside of maybe Padmu, Guido, and a select few others. On the left is the Amazon Kindle. This is the latest generation 2020-2021, the one you can buy on Amazon. And this is the Sony DPT, the long-time benchmark of 13.3-inch devices and note-takers alike. The absolute first thing you notice is obviously the screen size. This is 6-inch, this is 13.3. This is more than double how big this is diagonally, and you can probably fit 4 Kindles on one screen of a 13.3 inch. So screen size aside, you are getting your money's worth with a bigger device, because look how much more text shows up on the 13.3 versus the 6. You have to turn pages 4 to 5 times more on the small 6-inch versus a gigantic 13.3. Although making the font smaller and making the margins wider does help a little bit, but it is an undisputed fact that more text will show on a gigantic screen than it does on a small screen. And in terms of refreshes, it's not all that night and day. Some devices take a lot more time to develop a larger screen because it has to develop more information, but this is pretty much hand in hand the exact same. And granted, this device was made a little bit ago. This was made back in 2014-2015, the DPT. So it definitely is holding its own today up against basically everything that the 2020 crowd throws at it. Another thing is PDF files. Now, Kindles early on actually couldn't handle PDF files. They would crash, they would force close, they had insufficient RAM. They're much better now. However, look at what you're dealing with. Look at the differences in detail and contrast. You do get what you pay for. If you're expecting to get a $89, $100 e-reader and expect to have PDFs on them to a readable level, you should think again, because it just is not there. This is the reason. This is the sole reason why these big screen devices exist, for medical institutions, educational institutions, music production studios. This is what this device was originally catered to. When this guy came out, you actually couldn't even buy this on a personal level. You could only buy this if you were a corporate customer, and it was way more expensive than it was now. You do have some ability to do pinch and zoom, but honestly, it doesn't matter how much you zoom, you're never going to get the full page spread. Another beauty about a 13.3 is it's the only true screen size that will actually fit a piece of A4 or letter size paper on the screen without any sort of formatting. Anything smaller will have to be formatted, basically meaning you'll take this gigantic thing and make it small enough to fit on a smaller screen. 10.3-inch devices can't even do what a 13.3 does. So if you're thinking, again, you're going to get a small bargain device that will do a big job, it's not going to happen, and this is no more evident than in this shot against these two. You will see that we have some notes on here. The only reason we have some squiggles on here is because it's the same working file, but on bigger devices, typically you get note-taking capabilities, and this just comes hand in hand with the price point and the type of device it is. Other than a very select few of 6-inch devices that have anything to do with note-taking, and I'm talking about the Pocketbook Colors Scribble app, or the Onyx books running Google Play that has a Paint downloaded on it, no 6-inch device is going to have any sort of note-taking. Note-taking starts at 6.8 and works its way up. With 13.3, 10.3, this is where you start getting note-taking. This isn't something you can buy into, it's something that already is enabled into the device. The Sony, the Lumi, the Fujitsu, all devices are basically going to have note-taking at this level, which is why earlier on we said there isn't truly a $1,000 e-reader, because e-readers cap out at around the $400 price point. $1,000 is around what you're going to be getting if you're going to get note-taking tablets, things that have Wacom enabled, or ones that have their own proprietary note-taking like this. You can do things like erase, you can take notes, you can write in different colors depending on what the options are. It varies from device to device, of course, but there are a lot of benefits going with larger devices because they just do more. Manga is another thing. Looking at a 6-inch and a 13.3, they're both equally ridiculous. The 6-inch is just way too small for manga. It's smaller than my hand. It's just too tiny. And the 13.3 is too big. This is simply too large of a device to read manga on. If we look at an actual manga, you'll see that it sets in at around the 7.8-inch realm, and this is exactly why 7.8-inch devices exist. And this is for primarily manga devices. Look at the Progress Technologies E1 book and you'll see exactly what we mean. They're two 7.8-inch screens slapped together with real paper. Despite the fact that each screen is just either too big or too small, in their own regard they do display the manga very well. You can do pinch and zooms, you get mini maps, you can do a pinch and zoom on the 13.3 if you're so inclined to do so as well. But it's enormous at that point. But you know, even with a full zoom, you're getting a very good experience. So if you did want a little bit of an overkill and you wanted this gigantic tapestry of screen real estate, go for the 13.3. If you wanted something far more compact, you would get a 6-inch, but this is the experience on both of these in the real world. Bigger devices do more things. They show more screen, they do split screen, they have note-taking, they do all this fancy stuff, but this is an e-reader questionnaire video. Do you think a $1,000 e-reader is justifiable? 100% absolutely not. There is no reason to buy something this big, this overkill, when it comes to reading books. If it is about PDFs, absolutely this is the way to go. You do not want to run PDFs on a smaller device. It doesn't make sense, formatting issues run in the way, and you just can't get the right experience out of it. But when it comes to e-reading, there is no justification to buy a device this expensive, this big, for books alone, unless your pockets are deeper than the well from the ring. If you want to see more regarding e-ink devices, head over to youtube.com/goodereader or follow us at goodereader.com. For goodereader.com and a $100 e-reader versus $1,000, this is Peter.